Welcome back, everyone. Today, we're going to be going over this example, free response example for the preparation for the AP Statistics exam. Specifically, this one is going to be about confidence intervals for population proportions specifically. So this one says, a poll surveyed 1,200 adults about their opinions on a new city policy. The results showed that 720 adults supported the policy. Part A asks us to calculate a 90% confidence interval for the proportion of adults who support the policy. So here they're essentially saying, okay, what range of potential adults can we be sure supported the policy with 90% confidence, right? So in order to find that, I'm going to be starting with, okay, well, out of the sample then, how many adults supported the policy? Or I should really say, what proportion of adults supported the policy of the adults surveyed? So that's going to be p hat, which is going to be 720 over 1,200, which is equal to 0.6. And so the answer is that 60% of adults who were surveyed specifically supported the policy. So we can assume that the real number in the overall population was pretty close to 60%, but we want to know, okay, what range with 90% confidence can we say that that percentage lies within, right? So now I'm going to find the standard error, right? How much off is the standard error in this situation? So to find the standard error, what we're going to do is we're going to take the square root of p hat times 1 minus p hat over n, where p hat is the proportion of the population who supported the policy in the sample, right? So the sample probability, in other words, and n is the number of people surveyed. So that is going to be equal to 0.6 times 0.4 divided by 1,200. And that is going to be equal to, let's see, approximately 0.0141. And there we go. Okay, so that's our standard error calculation done. The next thing we need to do is find the marginal error, because of course standard error is going to be the same whether we're doing a 90% confidence interval, 95%, whatever it is. However, we need to find the marginal error by taking into account somehow that we only need to have this correct with 90% confidence, right? The more confident that we need to be, the larger that interval is going to be, right? The less confident that we can have a smaller interval in that case, right? So depending on whether we would rather have a smaller interval but be less confident that we are correct, or depending on whether we'd rather have a larger range of possibilities but be able to, because of that, be more confident that the true percentage of adults that support this policy is actually within that range. So in this case, they want a 90% confidence interval. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the marginal error, which is going to be, we need to first find the critical value for z for 90%. So that is going to be 1.645. You can also find this on the z-score table as well, right? That 90% confidence goes with 1.645. So you can also find that number on the tables. At some point, you'll usually just memorize it because there's only really three numbers, right? It's usually either a 90% confidence interval or 95 or 99. Those are typically the ones you'll see. Okay, so 1.645, and then times our standard error, which is 0.0141. And if we do that, I'm getting about 0.0232. And so therefore, our confidence interval is going to be equal to 0.6, which was our sample proportion, plus or minus 0.0232, because we can be 90% confident that we are off by this amount or less in either direction. And so if we actually add and subtract, we get that the confidence interval is from 0.577 to 0.623. So basically what this means is that with 90% confidence we can state that the true proportion or the true percentage of adults in this city that support this policy is somewhere between 57.7% of adults to 62.3% of adults. So that's part A all done. Part B asks us to explain the meaning of a 90% confidence level. So essentially, With that one, I guess I already did that, but I'll do that again briefly here. A 90% confidence level means that if we repeatedly sample 1,200 adults and we compute confidence intervals, about 90% of those intervals would contain the true proportion of adults who support the policy, right? So essentially, we can say with 90% confidence that that the sample would be there. The next question asks if a different poll found that 55% of adults supported the policy, does that fall within your confidence interval? And the answer is no, it doesn't, right? Our confidence interval was all values from 57.7% to 62.3%. And so the short answer for C would be no, it does not fall in there. And that basically suggests that it's probably not really very consistent with our findings, right? So probably then the true proportion is not really 55%. All right, well, as always, if you have any questions, feel free to put those in the comment section, and we'll see you for the next one.